There is a silent killer in every relationship, and most men never see it coming until it's too late. It moves slowly, like a shadow creeping across the room at dusk. It doesn't announce itself with arguments or drama. It doesn't scream or shout. It simply withdraws, quietly. Until one day you wake up and realize that the woman you love no longer sees you the way she once did. This silent killer is the loss of respect. And when respect dies, love soon follows. Because love without respect is nothing more than habit, obligation, or worse. Pitied at the ancient Stoics understood something that most modern men have forgotten. They knew that dignity is not given by others, it is maintained from within. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the opinion of others should never dictate your sense of self-worth. Yet so many men today live and die by the approval of the woman they love. They twist themselves into shapes they don't recognize, hoping to earn back what they've already lost. They chase, they beg, they compromise their values, and in doing so, they destroy the very thing they're trying to save. Respect is not negotiated. It is either present or it is absent. And when it begins to fade, most men miss the signs because they're too afraid to face the truth. What makes this tragedy even deeper is that the loss of respect rarely happens overnight. It's a slow erosion, a series of small moments where boundaries are crossed, where your words lose weight, where your presence becomes invisible. You might feel it in the way she looks at you, or more accurately, the way she doesn't. You might sense it in the silence that follows your opinions, or the sarcasm that replaces what used to be admiration. But because these signs are subtle, because they don't come with clear warnings, you ignore them. You tell yourself it's just a phase, that she's stressed, that things will get better. And while you wait and hope, the respect continues to drain away like water through your fingers. The Stoic philosophers taught that self-respect must always come before external validation. Epictetus reminded us that we cannot control the actions or feelings of others, only our own responses. A man who loses himself trying to win back someone's respect has already lost the battle, because he has abandoned the one thing that could have saved him, his own dignity. When you sense that respect is fading, your instinct might be to do more, to prove yourself, to work harder for her approval. But this is the trap. The moment you start performing for someone's respect, you've already given away your power. Respect flows naturally to those who respect themselves first, and it vanishes in the presence of desperation. So what are these signs, these quiet indicators that respect has left the room? The first whisper of lost respect often appears in the way she receives your words. There was a time when your opinions mattered to her. She would ask for your perspective, when your advice carried weight in her decisions. But now, when you speak, there's a hollowness in the air. She doesn't argue with you, she simply dismisses you. Your thoughts are met with indifference or a polite nod that says, she's already made up her mind without you. She might even ask others for advice on matters she once would have brought to you first. This is not about being controlling or expecting blind agreement. This is about recognizing when your voice has become background noise in her life. The Stoics valued wisdom and reason above all else, but they also understood that wisdom means nothing if no one is listening. When a woman stops valuing your words, she has stopped valuing the mind behind them. She no longer sees you as someone worth consulting, and this shift, though subtle, reveals that the foundation of respect has begun to crack. The second sign reveals itself in the tone she uses when she speaks to you. Communication is more than words. It's energy, intention, and emotion woven together. And when respect fades, the warmth disappears from her voice. You begin to notice a coldness, a distance, an edge that wasn't there before. Sarcasm becomes her default language with you. What used to be playful teasing now feels like veiled contempt. Her responses are short, clipped, as if speaking to you is an inconvenience. She might roll her eyes when you express yourself, or sigh heavily, as if your presence exhausts her. This shift in tone is one of the most painful signs because it makes you feel small. It's unimportant, like a burden she has to tolerate rather than a partner she chooses. Seneca once said that we should speak with purpose and listen with intent, but when respect is gone, there is no intent left. There is only performance, or worse, indifference. A Stoic man recognizes this change not to react with anger or bitterness, but to understand what it truly means. It means that the emotional connection has been severed, and without respect, even love becomes hollow. The third sign emerges when appreciation and gratitude vanish from her behavior. Think back to the early days, when she noticed the things you did, when she expressed thanks for your efforts, when she made you feel valued. Now, no matter what you do, it's never acknowledged. You work hard, you provide, you show up, you try to make her life easier, and yet it all goes unnoticed. She takes everything for granted as if it's owed to her. There's no recognition, no warmth, no appreciation. And worse, when you fail to meet her expectations, she's quick to criticize. But when you exceed them, there's only silence. This imbalance is a clear indicator that respect has eroded. The Stoics taught that we should not seek praise for doing what is right, but they also understood human nature. A relationship requires reciprocity. It requires acknowledgement. When one person is constantly giving and the other is constantly taking without gratitude, the relationship becomes transactional and cold. Marcus Aurelius believed in acting with virtue regardless of recognition. But he also knew that relationships thrive on mutual respect. When gratitude dies, so does the respect that fuels it. The fourth sign appears when she begins testing your boundaries. Pushing limits she once respected, seeing how far she can go without consequence. She might openly disrespect you in front of friends or family, making jokes at your expense, undermining your authority, or dismissing your feelings in public. She might flirt with other men, not necessarily because she wants them, but to see if you'll react, to measure how much power she holds over you. She no longer fears losing you because she senses your desperation, your need for her validation. And when a woman stops fearing the loss of a man, she stops respecting him. This is not about controlling someone through fear, but about the natural balance that exists when both people understand their own value. Epictetus taught that we must set boundaries and hold them with quiet strength. A man who allows himself to be disrespected repeatedly, who tolerates behavior that violates his dignity, teaches others how to treat him. When she tests your boundaries and finds no resistance, she learns that you will accept anything to keep her around. And in that moment, whatever respect remained is lost completely. The fifth sign shows itself in her emotional availability, or rather the lack of it toward you. She becomes distant, closed off, as if there's a wall between you that you can't break through. Conversations become shallow. She no longer shares her thoughts, her fears, her dreams with you. But here's what cuts deeper. She's not emotionally unavailable in general, only with you. You notice that she lights up around her friends. She's animated, engaged, laughing freely. With others, she's present. With you, she's absent. She saves her energy, her joy, her best self for everyone else, and you get what's left over, a tired, irritable, disconnected version. This selective emotional withdrawal is one of the cruelest signs because it shows that she's capable of connection. She simply doesn't want it with you anymore. The Stoics understood that we cannot force others to open their hearts to us. Seneca wrote that relationships must be built on mutual choice and respect, not obligation. When a woman emotionally withdraws from you while thriving with others, she has made a choice. She has chosen to invest her emotional currency elsewhere. And a Stoic man, rather than begging for scraps of attention, recognizes this truth and decides whether this is a relationship worth remaining in. The sixth sign is perhaps the most obvious, yet often the most denied. She begins to ignore your presence, treating you as if you're invisible, optional, a backup plan rather than a priority. She makes plans without considering you. She goes out without telling you where or with whom. Your calls go unanswered for hours. Your messages are read but not replied to. When you're together, she's on her phone, distracted, checked out. You feel like a ghost in your own relationship, present but unseen. And when she does need something, when she wants comfort, money, or a favor, suddenly you exist again. But the moment her need is met, you disappear from her radar once more. This pattern reveals a painful truth. You have become useful, not valuable. You are a resource, not a partner. The Stoics spoke often about understanding what we can control and accepting what we cannot. You cannot control whether someone chooses to see you, value you, or prioritize you. But you can control whether you continue to accept being treated as an afterthought. Marcus Aurelius taught that a man's worth is not determined by how others treat him, but by how he responds to that treatment. When you tolerate being ignored and devalued, you participate in your own disrespect. The seventh and final sign strikes at the very core of masculine identity. She no longer seeks your comfort, your protection, your guidance, or your leadership. In the natural flow of a healthy relationship, there is a balance where both people bring value to the table. One of the deepest forms of respect a woman shows a man is when she trusts him enough to be vulnerable with him. She turns to him in moments of uncertainty, when she seeks his strength in times of weakness. But when respect is gone, this trust disappears. She stops coming to you with her problems. She doesn't ask for your opinion on important decisions. When she's upset, she calls her friends, her family, anyone but you. She handles everything on her own, not because she's independent and strong, but because she no longer believes you have anything valuable to offer. She has lost faith in your ability to lead, to protect, to provide emotional safety. This is the final blow, because it means she no longer sees you as a man she can rely on. And without that fundamental respect for your role in her life, the relationship becomes nothing more than two people sharing space. Understanding these 7 signs is not about blame or bitterness, it's about clarity. The Stoic path is not one of delusion or denial. It is a path of truth, self-awareness, and principled action. When you see these signs, you face a choice. You can either continue down the road of desperation, trying to win back respect through pleading and compromise, or you can embody the Stoic virtues of wisdom, courage, and self-discipline. You can recognize that respect cannot be negotiated or begged for. It can only be commanded through your actions, your boundaries, and your unwavering sense of self-worth. If respect has been lost, there are only 2 honorable paths forward. The first is to rebuild it, not through words or promises, but through a complete transformation of how you show up in the relationship and in your life. You must become a man who respects himself so deeply that others have no choice but to follow suit. You must set boundaries and enforce them without anger or resentment. You must stop seeking her validation and start validating yourself through your actions and your character. You must lead by example, showing strength, wisdom, and emotional control, even in the face of disrespect. This path is difficult. It requires you to let go of the outcome, to accept that, even after all your efforts, she may never return to seeing you the way she once did. But the goal is not to manipulate her feelings. The goal is to reclaim your dignity. The second path is to walk away, to recognize that some things once broken cannot be repaired, to understand that a relationship without respect is a prison and no amount of love can compensate for its absence. The Stoics taught that we must have the courage to let go of what no longer serves us, even when it hurts, even when it feels like losing a part of ourselves. Seneca wrote that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. The fear of walking away, the fear of being alone, the fear of starting over, these fears are often far worse than the reality of moving forward. A Stoic man does not cling to decay. He does not beg for crumbs of affection from someone who no longer values him. He understands that his worth is not tied to any one person's perception of him. He walks away, not in anger, but in quiet strength, knowing that his dignity is worth more than any relationship built on the ruins of lost respect. The truth is that respect is everything. Without it, love becomes toxic. Without it, passion turns to resentment. Without it, partnership becomes servitude. And the harsh reality is that once respect is truly gone, it is nearly impossible to get it back. You cannot logic someone into respecting you. You cannot love someone into respecting you. Respect is earned through consistency, strength, boundaries, and self-respect. It is maintained through the same principles. And when it is lost, the only way forward is through radical honesty with yourself and decisive action. So if you recognize these signs in your relationship, do not look away. Do not make excuses. Do not wait for things to magically improve. Face the truth with the courage of a Stoic. Ask yourself, am I being respected in this relationship? Am I respecting myself? Am I tolerating behavior that violates my dignity because I'm afraid of being alone? These questions require brutal honesty, but they also offer liberation. Because once you see the truth clearly, you can act with purpose. Remember the words of Marcus Aurelius: "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Her respect or lack of it is an outside event. You cannot control it. But your response, your boundaries, your self-respect, these are entirely within your control. And when you choose to honor yourself, when you refuse to participate in your own diminishment, something shifts. Either the relationship transforms or it ends. But either way, you remain whole. You remain dignified. You remain a man who knows his worth. The Stoic path is not easy, but it is the only path that leads to true peace and self-mastery. Walk it with courage, walk it with wisdom, and walk it knowing that your value is not determined by anyone's ability to see it. The only respect that truly matters is the respect you have for yourself. Guard it fiercely, live by it daily, and never compromise it for anyone.